Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
And you're excited about this one.
A little bit. I am so sorry.
I talked about foot fetishes.
Yep.
We're fine. What do you got?
I am so sorry. Because the foot saga continues.
What? Wait, are you kidding?
I didn't even mean to do this, but
For anyone wondering, too, if you're wondering why we're laughing so hard, we recorded last week's episode this morning.
yes.
And had our notes done for both of these episodes already.
If you haven't listened to the last episode or the one before, we have had discussions about feet and foot fetishes.
So how do vampires tie into feet? I'm confused.
So this vampire called a Palis, because it rhymes with police, Palis.
Okay.
Literally translates to foot licker.
Oh no.
It's a vampiric demon in Persian Islamic lore who attacks victims at night and kills them by licking the soles of their feet and draining their blood.
There was something else that licked feet too, wasn't there?
So vampire bats, they usually go for
about?
feet.
Yeah. And we said Nick ruined that for you. He told you about it.
He had a book, an animal book when he was young. And he was like, if you're afraid of vampires, you should really just be covering your feet because the vampire bats,
Yeah, he was trying to help.
He was trying to be nice, but then I just got scared of my feet being uncovered.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
Yes. But the Palis or Palis is not a smart creature. Salt is an effective repellent for it. It's toxic to them. But the story goes that there were two camel drivers that lied down to sleep with the soles of their feet touching each other. And so this Palis arrived and circled them for hours because it had never seen a man with two heads before.
Oh no.
Because it didn't realize they had their feet touching, and so it couldn't get to the bottom of their feet.
And so it thought that was a head.
Because both their heads were sticking the other way. And so they were like, oh, it's a man with two heads instead of two men with their feet touching.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and they've been connected to Chupacabra lore, kind of that idea as a monster, because in some places they aren't really described other than just being a creature that comes out at night. But there is a connection to Jinn.
The liquor?
Oh, no. Like genie, Jinn.
Oh.
Like that kind of creature.
Oh, okay.
I'll get more into them too. But there is a variation that is more Jinn than vampire. It's the same thing where they suck blood from the feet, although they're known as being protective, great for working dark magic, sex magic, and illusion magic.
Ooh.
Yeah. They're cunning, although, like the story we heard before, and much of the folklore says otherwise.
Okay, yeah.
That they're kind of dumb. But they have very dark energies and will stop at nothing to remove annoyances from their keeper's life and home. They're easy to bond with and work well with other spirits and fond of children and animals.
I mean, they sound lovely other than the feet and killing.
Right. So again, this offshoot of a Jinn, often considered less evolved than other Jinn because they only drink blood. And also a lesser form of vampire because they're known as being kind of stupid. So most Jinn in true form have blue tattoo-like markings across their skin. Palis have orange markings on their face. They have a long, stretchy tongue that's covered in spines and allows them to wear away the bottom of their victims' feet.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gross.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So, their victims need to be immobile for them to get the blood. So that's one of their shticks, I guess.
Okay. Ugh.
Some lore says they can shapeshift to blend in with humans. They have underdeveloped senses except for their sense of smell.
Sure.
That's the superhuman sense they have. It's very highly sensitive. Weakness, again, is salt, toxic upon consumption. And they have poor eyesight and, again, intellect. Because even shoes prevent them from
Oh, I
getting to the
suppose.
foot. Like,
Really? They
Yeah.
can't just lick through the shoe or take the shoe off.
no,
Okay.
right.
Wow.
But jinn themselves, then I'll just go back and talk a little bit about jinn as their definition, I guess. They come from Arabian and Muslim mythology. They are intelligent spirits of lower rank than angels. They're able to appear in human and animal forms and some instances to possess humans.
Wow. All right.
They do show up in the Quran, which I would like to read someday, but
Cool.
like genies are offshoots of
Yeah.
them and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why, but you said it kills them by licking their feet. My brain didn't process probably by like sucking the blood
Right.
out. I just was like, okay, so like a regular human tongue licks them and they
Ew.
die. Like that's some weird like absorption thing, I guess, in my
Sure.
head. I don't know. I didn't really think too far into that. So just, the spiny
gross.
tongue through me.
Right. Well, and I was thinking about what you said in the last episode too, and how like the like sexual organs are like right next
Yeah.
to feet in the brain, and
Yeah.
like how vampires tend to have a very sexual component.
So
And
really,
it's
it makes
like,
sense.
oh, I see. This is just the wires crossed here in
Yeah?
lore and stuff too. Yeah.
Weird. Oh, that's crazy that
I know.
ties in.
I was just like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this, but I looked at it and I was like, oh no.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it so much. So I originally started out because I wanted to cover mermaiding, which is the art of humans dressing up as mermaids and like performing. I will cover that eventually, but I ended up changing because when I was looking up the history of mermaiding, I discovered Annette Kellerman.
Okay.
Do you know Annette Kellerman?
No.
Okay, I think you will. Because she plays into some historical fashion later.
Oh, please.
So I discovered her and I decided I was going to talk about her instead. So real life person. She was born in 1886 in Australia. She was a pro swimmer, a vaudeville star, an actress, and a writer.
This is cool.
Right? I knew you'd like this one. She was born to a Frederick Kellerman. He was a violinist. And his French wife, Alice, who was a pianist and music teacher.
Was he French?
No, he was Australian.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yep, he was Australian too. Well, she was Australian, dad was Australian, mom was French.
Aha.
Yes, so I don't know why mom came over to Australia, but lots of fun.
The accents got her.
I mean, yes. So very, very musical family, very artistic family. At 6 years old, Annette's legs were very weak. Didn't really say why, if it was like a disease or just developmental problem, but she actually had to wear steel braces for a while.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Like Forrest.
like Forrest, yeah. And her parents enrolled her in swimming lessons to try and help strengthen her legs. By age 13, her legs were pretty much normal. And by age 15, she was winning swimming races and doing diving displays. So it definitely became more of just less of a treatment and more of a passion for her.
Sure.
Which we'll see more of here. You're going to find the theme throughout everything with Annette Kellerman. I don't have a ton on her, but she's basically just a bad bitch. She's super freaking cool. So they ended up moving to Melbourne when she was, I think, in her teens. So she obviously moved with her family. And she continued to do diving and swimming displays. And she also started performing as a mermaid in Princess Court Entertainment Center. So this would have been like 1901, like
Sure,
early
very
1900s or very late 1800s.
The Edwardian period.
Yes, thank you. So she wasn't necessarily the first, but she was definitely the first well-known one to be doing these displays and performances.
I mean, I guess a little bit of Victorian, but yes.
We'll take it. She also did shows. She did like 2 shows a day where she would be swimming with fish at the exhibition aquarium. So very real life mermaid. Ooh. She, at one point in her career, I'm not sure exactly when, she had trained herself to hold her breath for 3 minutes and 20 seconds at a time. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
She was super cool. She also tried to cross the English Channel 3 different times. She never succeeded, but she was quoted saying, "I have the endurance, but not the brute strength."
Ah.
But she was very, very in shape. She actually was famous at one point for swimming like 20 miles in the Thames River. So, yeah, she's jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she also was in a synchronized swimming performance in 1907 in the New York Hippodrome, and that actually helped popularize the sport.
I was going to say, I wonder when it started to really take off. It was
That's
around
about
then.
when,
okay.
yep. In 1911, she was on Broadway in Undine, Undine, but the character is Ondine, I think, and it is a play about a water sprite.
Oh.
It was described on Wikipedia as an aquacade.
Oh.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know that one.
I don't either because it was red, so like the link didn't go anywhere.
Oh, sure.
And when I searched, I couldn't find anything. So I don't know if that was Wikipedia being Wikipedia or...
It being obscure enough that you
right.
couldn't get to it. Sure.
What I thought you might know Annette for is that she kind of helped popularize, I shouldn't say she helped, she did popularize the one-piece women's swimming garment.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Annette Kellerman's is something that they ended up being called. So when she started swimming, the pantaloons were very popular. And I'll pull up a picture of her because I've seen this picture before, so I know you have. And I just never knew the name of the gal who was in it. But she decided she did not like many women, the swimming outfits that had to be worn, and they were difficult.
Well, they would drag you down. Like, oh, yes. Yep. I have totally seen that picture.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So that's Annette.
Hi, Annette.
Right, but yes, exactly. They would drag you down. They would slow you down. They were uncomfortable. I'm sure they took forever to dry.
Yeah.
So she started wearing swimsuits like the image in the photo that I just showed Risha. That I'll also have linked on our Instagram at vampsandmers. You can email us vampsandmers@gmail.com with the and spelled out. But she is the one, so she actually started, I think, her own swimsuit line. Now, I'm not sure if it was invented and owned by her, if it was owned by someone else and designed around her. I couldn't really find the information if it was actually her company or if she was more of a spokesperson or the face of it. But that was in 1914, and that's when those outfits started to be referred to as Annette Kellerman's, and they actually would be designed that by the company.
Yeah.
She's the gal, and I heard the story a long time ago that apparently it was like rumored that in I think 1911 she was arrested for indecent exposure on a beach for wearing her one-piece swimsuit. But it turns out, and I remember hearing that story at some point, I think at like a boat museum that I went to once. There aren't actually any police records on that though, so it's thought that she maybe invented that story just to help with publicity.
To hype it up.
Yeah, just to get some attention, which, hey, girl, you gotta do what you gotta do. Annette went on to become quite the film star. She was actually the first major actress to do a fully nude scene.
Wow.
Yes, and I say major actress because I know in early films sometimes they'd hire sex workers to fill in for parts, but she was the first one who was an actress, had a resume of performances. There are pictures of that. It's in A Daughter of the Gods, and it was supposedly the first $1 million film production.
Oh, wow.
But like many of her films, I think they're called like dead films, as in there aren't any existing copies still. They've been lost to history. I know, because I was like, oh, I want to watch that, but you can't. They're gone. Most of them are. Most of her films were also aquatic themed, partially because she loved water, but also because she could do all of her own stunts.
Right.
So there are some where she would do these insane dives in the films or be underwater for a super long time. So she obviously fit in really well for that. So that was her career. In 1912, she married her American manager. Little spicy. At some point, they moved to California, where she actually owned a health food store. Oh. She was a lifelong vegetarian, and health and food were a very large passion for her.
Did she eat fish too?
I don't know.
Do you know?
It did not. I did not come across that.
That's interesting.
But it said vegetarian.
Right.
So I'd assume so.
Yeah.
It's not pescatarian.
Right.
Though I don't know.
Those were the words that I was.
I also don't know
mind.
how distinguished those words
that
were in like
time.
1910.
Yeah. Right.
They moved back to Australia in 1970, and she was honored by the International Swimming Hall of Fame, which is in Florida, in 1974.
Wait, wasn't she born in 1886?
Yes.
Holy cow.
She passed
was like
away.
90-some.
Well, she passed away in 1975, and she was 89, I believe.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. So good question. Fun fact is she was actually... We'll jump around a little bit, but since you asked, we'll go here.
Yeah.
She was cremated with Roman Catholic rites, and her ashes were spread on the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I don't think they let you do anymore.
And that's interesting that Roman Catholic rites and then she was cremated.
Right.
Because usually that's
Usually they don't let you do cremation. So I don't know. I don't know how that worked, but
And
that's
that-
what Wikipedia said.
And that they absolved her of like the nudity thing.
Right?
Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I was confused on that too, so I don't know if maybe there was a turnaround with that. Who knows? But while she was still alive, specifically in 1918, she actually published some books. 1918, she published How to Swim. 1919, she published Physical Beauty, How to Keep It. In 1926, she published a children's storybook titled Fairy Tales of the South Seas and My Story, an unpublished autobiography.
that's cool.
Yeah, so she's quite the writer. She was actually at one point in some contest in Australia. I don't know the details, so I didn't write it down, but I thought it was a fun little tidbit just for the My Beauty and How to Keep It book. She was thought of as the most perfect woman for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and thought of as like the Australia's most beautiful woman. And at some point she was in like a contest, and apparently someone said she looked like figure the most like Venus de Milo. I don't know who that is.
De Mio.
Okay. Well, apparently she reflected that very strongly, and so she was.
I could see it. That's the one where you see the statue with like the two arms. The two arms gone.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, apparently she was similar to that, and I don't know, a little total tangent, but I think it's interesting because she was 5'4", so she was not a very tall person. She was very curvy, as you can tell in the pictures. And I just think it's interesting that women's body trends have a tendency to be trends, and something that was super popular 100 years ago now isn't necessarily considered as popular, or maybe definitely wouldn't have been 20 years ago, or the 90s. Oh, God, the 90s. Yeah, unless you're on speed, you're too fat. God. Yeah. So I just thought that was really interesting. And I won't get into like her measurements or anything. You can find them online, but we don't need to. That's triggering. We don't need to hit that. But I just thought it was interesting that beauty standards change so much. And it's just a reminder that just because someone doesn't think you have the ideal body doesn't mean you don't, because your body's your body, and that alone makes it ideal. So feel good about yourself, kids.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about Annette Kellerman.
That's cool.
Right?
I like that.
Thought that was fun. And I will get more into mermaiding eventually, but like I said, I just wanted to look up the history of it, and she popped up, and I'm like, oh, I started just doing bullet points for her, and then I was quickly like, oh, she's too much of a bad bitch. She needs her own episode. So yeah.
I do have one that I will bring back to you after lunch.
Okay.
And it's a movie you could watch, which actually it's a movie of a stage production.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm down. Sounds great.
Shelley Duvall's The Little Mermaid, if anybody wants to look it up.
I think you've mentioned that.
Yeah, so I'll bring it back to you so you can.
Yay.
You don't have to do it next time or anytime, but it's one for you.
Okay.
I need you to react to it for me.
Oh
please.
boy, am I gonna hate it?
You might.
Oh no.
I think you'll laugh at it more.
Okay, that's fair.
I think you'll think it's ridiculous.
All right, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Okay.
Okay.
Well, stay thirsty and keep wet.
Cover your necks and watch your tail.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
TapestryRadio.org.
From our fancy to yours.